Hello. Hello. We are live. This is scary. This is my first time doing a live stream. Okay, hello. Session nerds, if you're in the future, why don't you go ahead and skip to like 5 minutes into the video. Dang it, is it backwards or can you actually read this? It's undergrad research. Okay, I'm gonna wait like a few minutes and then I'm gonna get started. This is my first time doing live stream ever. I've never done it on Facebook. I've never done it on YouTube. So this is like super scary for me. So yeah, like I said, let's just wait a little bit. Okay, so basically I'm doing this live stream for undergrad research and kind of talking about different tips and advices if you're like an undergrad student and you're about to start research. So I'm going to be talking about that. If you have any other questions, if anyone stops by, I'd be quite surprised. Pero other than that, I'm going to be sharing some like tips and stuff for research. How y'all doing? Anyone watching yet? No? Okay, you're probably in the future if anyone's watching. But yeah, you know, it's almost Thanksgiving, so I got a little bit of free time today. Thought I'd do this. We should skip because it's gonna be boring for a little bit. Hopefully, my roommates don't like interrupt me too bad. I doubt anyone will show up. This is so nerve-wracking. Oh my god, I've been wanting to live stream for like a year now, and I just haven't gotten the courage to do so until now. I said we're gonna wait 5 minutes, and people are gonna probably skip to about 5 minutes. So I think I should wait till 5 minutes, even though I kind of want to start now because I'm so anxious. I'm sorry if this is making you anxious. Yeah, we're just doing some undergrad research. I'll see if anyone stops by. I just wanted to hold this thing up because whenever like I'm in a live stream, whenever I see someone, I'm like, oh, what are you talking about? What's going on here? So is this like a good idea, or should I just like not have this anymore? I don't know. And you can't even. I mean, it's like backwards. I mean, can you read backwards, or is it backwards? For me, it looks backwards, like mirrored. We'll see. This is the longest 5 minutes of my life. I gotta say, this is like super nerve-wracking. Oh yeah, what I was gonna do, I was gonna share. I was gonna share the link with my buddies. Catch me live. How about that? Can I just share my Can I just share my my link? I don't even know how this works. Like honestly, I'm sorry if you're expecting some good quality stuff. I'm trying to get you to have low expectations right now because this is my first time doing this. I'm trying to see where I share my where do I even share my link? My buddies, my Facebook friends. No, it's not even showing. Am I even live? I'm probably not even live, am I? Oh, I am live. Okay. Okay, copy link. Let me put this down for a second. I'm live streaming. Is anyone watching? Yeah, still no one's watching. That's all right. Sharing with my friends. Guys, I'm live streaming. All right. This is honestly so nerve-wracking. I feel like I'm in an interview or something. Let me just share a couple more friends. Okay. Catch my live stream. Dude, I'm like kind of shaking. All right. All right, it's 5 minutes. Okay, so I think I'm gonna get started. So welcome, future people, because no one is watching. That's okay. That's okay. It's my first live stream. So future people, welcome to this video because it's just a video. So today I'm gonna be talking about undergrad research. One of my friends, one of my mentees, she's a undergrad student, and she hit me up. She's like, "Hey, I just got in a research lab. And I'm a little bit nervous, and I understand that because it can be very nerve-wracking. And so she asked me for some tips, and I was thinking, maybe we can grab lunch or something. But since it's Thanksgiving week, it's probably gonna be difficult. So I was like, you know what? Why don't I do a video? And then another part of me was like, why don't you do a live stream? So this is the first live stream. So we're gonna be talking about tips for undergrad research. So this isn't really going to be a video about if you already are looking for undergrad research. This is like, okay, I'm in a lab, what to expect. So maybe I can give like a little bit of introduction. My name is Engineering. I'm a graduate student in chemical engineering, and I've been doing research for about 3 years. And basically, I guess I'll do a little short introduction for undergrad research. If you go to a university or some sort of institution, usually you take classes, but sometimes the professors are nice enough to let you join their research lab. And this could be anywhere from the social sciences to sciences, and in my case, engineering. So I've been a part of 2 labs in undergrad, and I really enjoyed my experience because I got to learn a lot. I got to basically deal with hands-on experiments that you get to touch on in classes, but in research, you actually get to do research. It's an investigation. Basically, no one has ever done that type of research before, and you're progressing science. So that's kind of the motivation. I guess in another video, I can talk about how to obtain a research position. And it really varies depending on the school, depending on the professor, depending on the lab. There's so many variables, but essentially you can think of it as like applying to a job. So again, I'm just gonna assume that if you're interested in this, you already have research and you're looking for, okay, what kind of tips am I going to be giving out? Like what should I look out for, So if you might be kind of nervous, so let me get my notes, basically. So the number one thing I can say when you're joining a research group is to be a sponge. You might think that you might not be well adept to handle some sort of research position, but that's kind of the point. The point is to learn. You might not, whether or not you might be getting paid or not, but regardless, your main focus is to learn as much as you can so that by the time you graduate or by the time you're looking for something else in your academic career, then you already have something on your resume that basically makes you seem like a better person, as a better student. So yeah, like I said, just be a sponge. Just try to ask as many questions as you can. Try to be motivated to read as many literature, read textbooks, read articles, read papers, read different types of things to kind of get you involved into the research. And if it's something you're interested in, hopefully it shouldn't be too difficult to motivate yourself, but that should be the number one thing. Just kind of motivate yourself to ask a lot of questions. Just be a sponge. Just try to engage yourself as much as you can with the research, because it will hopefully be a main part of your academic career during the time that you're doing research. So yeah, it really depends on your motivation. If you really don't find yourself motivated, oh, we have one viewer. Hello, welcome. Hello, welcome. Yay, first viewer. Okay, it is a live stream. Okay, so yeah, like I said, we're doing undergrad research. So yeah, just kind of like try to ask questions and put yourself out there to try to understand as much as you can. It may be difficult at first because it's something that is complicated. It might be advanced. Hello, Megan Ma. Now you're watching my live stream. I'm watching her on Twitch, and now you're watching my live stream. That's funny. So reciprocation. So yeah, like I said, just like ask questions. I don't know what else to say. Like be a sponge, Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. I think another side thing that really is important is to be professional. So you're dealing with an actual academic research group, right? So a lot of the times, in undergrad lab classes, people still kind of like fool around, kind of like high school. You might like, I don't know, prank your friend. I don't know what you guys do in lab. But there's none of that. There's none of that. You can't even like can't even horse around, or you shouldn't. At least you shouldn't, because it's very dangerous, and like all these like mom things, like things that mom would say, like don't play with the chemicals, don't run with scissors. No. Apart from the safety stuff, it's still important to be professional because if you're trying to communicate with someone, if you're trying to communicate with your professor, it's very frustrating with them for them if they have a hard time communicating with you. So just be professional. You'd be surprised on people, how I struggled at first with writing emails. So basically, it's not the most intuitive thing to write a professional email. So be careful how you address your professor and try to gauge what kind of person they are. If they're kind of chill and they just, they're just like, hey, what's up, dude? Then it's fine to, it might be fine to be a little bit unprofessional, but most of the professors that I've seen, and professors in general, they try to be professional. So make sure you address them properly and email them properly, and that goes with your mentors if you have grad students as well. Try to it's usually a professional setting. Again, you can kind of gauge, you can kind of see, this guy's kind of chill, this person is a little bit more professional. So keep that in mind, because I've known people that gone into the research group, they've contacted the professor and they said like, they really like the group. The professor said, all right. And then they said, thanks, thanks, Mr. Or I forgot what they said exactly, but it was like, hello, Peacemaker, thank you for the compliment. Basically, they said like, they weren't allowed to be in the group anymore simply because of a simple email. I really wish I could remember how seemingly professional the email was, and the professor didn't like it, and they got kicked out of the group. So don't let that be you, because if you're like trying to be in a group, the last thing you want to be kicked out of is for sending a slightly unprofessional email. That's just something, maybe not a lot of people have seen that, but that's something that I have seen twice, that people got kicked out because they sent a slightly unprofessional email. That's kind of scary, in my opinion. But other than that, yeah, just like don't be too scared. Professors are still people too. Like you can still like talk to them about research. You can talk to them about your academic goals. That's another like tip, that goes back to the first thing, like asking questions. You can ask them stuff not just about research. You can say like, I'm interested in applying for this job. Can you give me some advice? And you never know. Maybe they know the person in charge of HR in that career. Or most importantly, if you're interested in grad school, ask them for a letter of recommendation. So that's the main motivation for being on professor's good side, not just for joining the lab, but writing a letter of recommendation. So yeah, definitely, if you decide to leave the group, you might want to stay in touch every, I don't know, year or so. By the time you start applying to grad schools, then they can remember you. Yeah, so again, back to the first question, just ask a lot of questions and try to engage with the professor. Try not to be that person that's just kind of in it just to make their resume look good. Try to actually engage with the research. It all goes back to being a sponge. That's the main point of this. Professionalism. Yeah, side note thing about emailing. You want to email as promptly as possible. So if they ask you, have you done this or that, say, yes, I have. Here's what I've done, or no, I haven't. I've done this so far, and I plan to do this, this, and this. They just want to have. Usually, they just want to have an idea of what you've done, just to kind of stay in the loop. Oh, speaking of tips, so this is like tips and like do's and don'ts. I think the number one don't. don't go. What's that? Acronym? It's like HMI or MIA. Don't go MIA. Do not ignore emails. Do not ignore emails. That's like the number one don't, in my opinion, in my book, because that's another way to get kicked out of a lab. If you go MIA and if you start ignoring emails or you stop going to lab, then chances are you're probably gonna get kicked out. So the way to deal with this is people always do it. It's like impossible not to. It's impossible to go to lab. I shouldn't say impossible. It can be difficult to go to lab every single day, especially when, if you're an undergrad, you got midterms, you got finals. What you don't do is, hey, you got midterms, you got finals, and then you just like cram for your midterms, you cram for your finals, but you don't text anyone or you don't email anyone. Whoever you're working with, make sure you contact them and say, I'd like to really spend a lot of time focusing on midterms. I don't think it's best if I come in this week or come in the next few days. Most of the time they understand. I've rarely heard of anyone saying like, nope, you signed up for this. You can't study for midterms. I've never heard of that. So the worst thing that they can say is, well, I guess that's the worst thing that they can say, but you really want to, if you think that you're struggling with academics or something else in your personal life, just at least contact them, because again, that's like the number one don't for research. Don't go MIA. Just contact whoever you're working with. Just say, I really got to focus on this. Is it okay if we have just a short meeting this week, and I'll be happy to make up the time at another time. In my case, I didn't really have that option for my second lab. So what I did was, in my first lab, like what we tried to do was like work a lot during the first few weeks, and then midterms come around, you don't work so much, and then in between midterms and finals, you work a lot, and so you don't work in finals. For my second lab, I didn't have that luxury. The professor was a little bit more strict, and he wants even whatever hours you signed up for in the beginning of the year, he wants that consistently throughout the quarter, throughout the year. So that takes more responsibility on my end. So that means I have to plan out my study schedule, my research schedule, my personal life. I had to plan that out a little bit more professionally, because if I just say, okay, I'm going to come on this, and this day, and then suddenly I don't show up, or I say, hey, I'm canceling, then that looks very bad on my part. So fortunately, if you're good at time management, then that shouldn't be too much of an issue, but that's something definitely to look out for in case like midterms roll around and you're just like super like flooded with like assignments and all that stuff. Usually they understand, but at the same time, some professors, they don't understand. They're just like, oh, that's just undergrad. That should be easy. I mean, just undergrad. Compared to professor, yeah, it's easy. But for an undergrad student, undergrad coursework can be quite time consuming. So again, depending on your professor, depending on your mentor or whoever you're working with, they can be like a little bit more understanding or less understanding. So try to gauge and see how the professor is. They might be a little strict, but hopefully, they understand, like, I got midterms, or if personal things come up, things always come up, you get sick or whatever. Usually professors are people too, contrary to popular belief. Professors are people too. Okay, to my one viewer, do you have any questions about research? Another thing that goes back to, again, the first thing about being a sponge, there's other ways of learning besides just reading. You can attend seminars. So sometimes my department hosts different professors, different researchers at different institutions around the country, and they bring them to speak to the graduate students. But sometimes my friends and I would be really interested in one of the topics, and we'd go to those discussions, those lectures, just because you get to learn about the firsthand research from the person that's actually doing the research. So I definitely recommend you attend those types of seminars, those types of workshops, even if they're not really intended for undergrads. They're usually intended for graduate students. Most of the times they're still open to any student. So highly recommend you attend those types of seminars, workshops. If your school has them, it might be a professor, it might be a CEO of a company, things like that. Additionally, if you are allowed to attend the group meetings, I recommend you go to as many as you can. Sometimes they might seem a little mundane and they might be getting into the little nitty gritty of the research, but I highly recommend you go to the group meetings if you can. Group meetings, side note, basically the lab group has meetings as a group, hence the name group meeting, go figure. And they kind of discuss usually whatever updates the researchers are doing that week. So it's a great way to learn about the research that your lab is doing. At the same time, you might learn, you might be curious about something that you learned about in the group meeting, and then it pops up in your lecture, or you just see an article. So it's kind of funny. Like even though I'm not a materials scientist major, I was in a material science group, and then I got to learn a lot about different types of characterization, and then you learn about like different thermodynamics of materials and different properties that have nothing to do with my major per se, but still you get to learn a lot. So definitely recommend attending group meetings. Yeah, and similarly, try to get trained on stuff. So like I said, I was really interested in material science, so that's why I joined that group. So I also got the opportunity to get trained on stuff. So if you're an undergrad, you'll most likely be able to get trained on stuff for free, which normally costs from $100 to thousands of dollars depending on the type of instrument. So yeah, if you're like in the sciences, you might want to get trained on I don't know. I don't really know what's in the sciences that much. Like I'm thinking like biology, like culturing, I guess. Yeah. But more in the engineering stuff, it's more like characterization using, like XRD, SEM, or you might do some type of procedure that requires some sort of special training. When you do that kind of stuff and you get to put it in your resume, that looks great, especially if you're applying for a job or a position that directly uses that exact instrument. That looks great. And again, take this opportunity because if you're allowed to, take the opportunity because again, in undergrad, it's usually easier than ever to get this sort of opportunity. So yeah, if you are allowed to, say, hey, I'm interested in learning about SEM. Can I get trained on that? And then you'll try to find the right people, send some professional emails to the right people, and you can hopefully get trained. What's that? What else is that? Okay, so I guess now I'm going to be talking about if maybe you're thinking about leaving the group, which I don't recommend. I first of all recommend that you join a lab that you think that you'll be interested in for a long time, because if you, at least for engineering, if you say join 3 different groups, 1 per year, versus 1 group for 3 years, if you do one group every year, you'll get exposed to a wide array of different research groups, but you won't really get too in depth in any of them. At least you likely won't. Whereas if you stay in one for 3 years, then you'll probably be more engaged in the science, and maybe you'll have your own research project and maybe your own paper. However, there are some exceptions. If you're really not interested in, then what's the point? If you're not interested in the environment, if you feel like the environment isn't right for you, then you might want to consider leaving. Fortunately for me, the first group I was interested in was great. Everything was great. I decided that I wanted to learn a little bit more about, it was a water quality lab, and I wanted to learn more about material science. And then I said, I'm trying to look for something a little bit more on the nanoscale science. So I'm likely going to be leaving the group. And the professor was fine with it. My mentor was fine with it. and I didn't break any connections. I didn't burn any bridges by doing so. I was just, interested in a different path for me academically. And then I joined another group, and I stayed until graduation. And the professor wrote me a letter of recommendation, and I got to have a part in a major project that we've been working on. So uh, don't burn bridges if you don't have to. Like, don't go MIA. Don't be disrespectful. Don't do those typical things that people, when they want to quit a job, don't burn bridges, because you'll never know when you'll need these connections again, or maybe you want to join the group again. So, but if you decided that you want to leave the group, then try to contact them, send a professional email, or meet with them in person, and then tell them why you're leaving. If you think that uh, you're interested in some other type of science, hopefully they understand. They might not be as understanding if you're saying like, "Hey, I don't like you," or "Hey, this is too time consuming." Don't do that. There's many ways of trying to say the same thing. Uh, don't ever flat out say you don't like a professor. That will probably not end the best. Uh, yeah, I think I'm starting to finish up my my throat. It's hard doing live stream. I'm starting to finish up my tips. So I think one other like tidbit is, research can be difficult. You see like memes, you see memes on like, I don't know, Facebook or whatever, saying that grad students like have no life. They're in the lab all the time. So that may or may not be the case for you as an undergrad. But if it is, there can be some long nights. Sometimes we're in the lab doing experiments, and we're like, oh, this is only going to take a couple hours, and you start at 2 p.m. and then you leave at like 10 p.m. or midnight, and like those nights can be like kind of stressful, kind of intimidating, because you're like in there for so much longer than you planned. So in my opinion, that's kind of what makes it kind of fun in a dorky way. It's just like you're doing something that no one has ever done before, hopefully, at least you're trying to, and you're getting to learn about whatever it is you're doing about the world. You're doing science. That's kind of the main difference between science and engineering. Like science, you're just like learning. You're just being a sponge. That's the whole point of research. So if it gets to that point where you're like really frustrated, uh, just like try to stay motivated. Try to think about what made you interested in the science in the first place. So many of us go through the same thing. Like your experiments fail, your bacteria. Oh, thank God, I don't work with biology. At least not right now. Like I just hear horror stories of like the bacteria doesn't want to do, even though you've replicated the experiment the same exact way. Uh, Basically, yeah, like nothing's working, or just when it comes to those types of experiments, like don't let it get to you. It's just science. Like just try to stay motivated and think about what you like about the project. Okay. um yeah, and similarly, like think about what motivates you if you really enjoy the science, because you might have to quote waste your summer doing research, doing a project. In my opinion, it's not really wasting, because you're still learning. But while your friends might be going out to the beach or whatever, and you're stuck in the lab, yeah, it can be frustrating. But again, think about why you're doing it in the first place. At the end of the day, is it going to give you more? What's a good word? For lack of a better word, is it going to give you more happiness if you uh, finish this project, finish this experiment, go to grad school, get a PhD? Or are you interested in more something else? Are you interested in more industry? Are you interested in more helping people directly, starting your own company? Then maybe research isn't the best thing for you. And that's okay, because there's like a different path for everyone. I believe that everyone has their own purpose in society. And yeah, this research side, this grad school side, it's not necessarily for everyone, but again, that's okay. It's like a learning experience. And if you feel like you wasted your time doing research that you're really not interested in, usually I don't think it's a waste of time, because you're still learning something about a subject. Um, yeah, there's really not much. So I'm just gonna leave it as that. And one final note is throughout your entire research experience, try to plan your future. So if you're, let's say, in a uh, I'll just use my example. If I was in a water quality lab and I wanted to learn about both water and nano, while being a chemical engineering major, which you touch upon water quality and nanomaterials a little bit throughout the major, but not too in depth. And I wanted to learn about both of those. And so throughout my undergrad, I was kind of thinking, okay, do I like this? Do I like that? Um, so I was kind of like learning what I like and what I didn't like. And I don't know if it's good or bad, but I still like both water and nano. But what I'm trying to get at is if you think you like something, then maybe you might want to pursue that. Pursue more projects in that. So I was trying to do both, like I said. So I was interested in the water quality applications, yet using nanomaterials. So then I worked on a project that made nanomaterials for water purification, making membranes. And now to this day, it's still guiding me of the type of research that I'm interested in. Other people, they focus on like biochemical engineering, right? And now they're getting jobs in biochemistry companies. So whatever you're interested in, try to like pour your soul into that and do a lot of research and see if that's something that you actually want to do. And then maybe you never know, you might get a job out of it. You might discover something. Maybe do a startup. It's really not uncommon to see engineers doing their own startups. Just because, like I said, you might discover something and then you can like pursue that. And then if you just really pour your soul into that, then you might get something. You might get like a good golden nugget out of that. So yeah, that's the main takeaway, I guess. Just like be a sponge and just try to like see what you love, and maybe you can do that as a career. All right. So to my mentee, I hope this helps. To anyone else that's interested or they're like about to start research, like, hope this helps. Don't be too nervous. Just try to balance out your time with your classes. And if you have a job, you have a family or whatever it is, just try to balance classes. Uh, Hope this helps. If it doesn't, I'm sorry. This is my first live stream. If it does, well, I'm glad it helps. And maybe we'll do some more videos like how to get a research position, or how to we're definitely going to do some more chemi videos, so look forward to those. Yeah, I think I'm going to end it here. First live stream. That was scary. Okay, don't forget to share this with your friends, family, and your dog. Sentient nerds. Yeah.